All right, shalom. This is Khanak Amba Yasha Allah from the Lions in the Yasha Allah camp. First and foremost, I'd like to say Kah Halayim La Yahweh, by Hashem Yahushai, by Hashem, Harakak Wadash Ma. Double honors to the elder apostles, the great millstone, and salutations to the Akim that are pushing the truth and sincerity and truth, and peace and blessings to the men, women, and children that believe in the name of Yahweh by Hashem Yahushai. All right, this is a continuation of the lesson I was doing earlier. King David, heart of a lion, but still humble as a little child. All right, so this is going into the battle between King David and Goliath, and him showing that he has no fear because he has the spirit of the Yahweh Shem Yahushai, and Yahweh Shem Yahushai is with him. And that's we have to have that same state of mind of having hearts like a lion, but still being humble as a little child, like the scriptures say. You know, be as wise as a snake and harmless as a dove. So knowing that we don't have to, at this present time, we don't have to show the world our physical strength. You know, what we do is we show them the world our patience and the strength that we get from Yahweh Shem Yahushai through patience and endurance and letting patience have the perfect works. All right. So this is our 1 Samuel chapter 17, verse 30. And the last point I left off of was basically talking about how King David's brother was kind of wroth with him for showing up to the battle. And in my opinion, I think he was just a little upset because King David had the courage that he didn't have, because he never once did he speak about, the scriptures don't say anything about him speaking on going out there and fighting the Goliath on his own, but David, which he wasn't King David at the time yet, but he was being positioned as being king through the works of Yahweh Shem Yahushai. All right, it says 1 Samuel 17 and 30. It says, and he turned from him towards another and spake after the same manner, and the people answered him again from the former manner. And when the words were heard which David spake, they rehearsed them before Saul, and he sent for him. And David said to Saul, Let no man's heart fail because of him. Thy servant will go and fight this Philistine. All right, and that's King David showing his showing his faith, basically. Because Yahweh Shem Yahushai gave us the spirit of power, not of fear. All right, so right now we don't have to show our physical force, our physical strength right now. We show our patience and our wisdom. All right, because that's how we fish. We're seers, teachers, prophets, and so we're showing forth our wisdom right now. So we're fishing, but the scriptures say he shall turn fishers into hunters. All right, this is Jeremiah 6:16 and 16. It says, Behold, I will send for many fishers, saith the Lord, Yahweh Shem Yahushai, and they shall fish them, and after will I send for many hunters, and they shall hunt them from every mountain and from every hill, out of the holes of the rocks. All right, so that's when we'll show our physical strength with physical power, with spiritual powers giving us extreme physical abilities, and it all stems from our faith, the spirit that's within us. All right. Just like it, not that. 1 Samuel 17 and 31. All right, this is 1 Samuel 17 and 32. It says, and David said to Saul, Let no man's heart fail because of him. Thy servant will go and fight with this Philistine. All right. And we're also going to have our time to fight, helping Yahweh take this kingdom down. All right. All right. And Saul said to David, Thou art not able to go against this Philistine to fight with him, for thou art but a youth, and he a man of war from his youth. All right. But King David didn't care about that. Why? Because he had the heart of a lion, man. and he had the spirit of Yahweh Shem Yahushai on him. All right, and it says, and David said unto Saul, thy servant kept the father's sheep, and there came a lion and a bear, and took a lamb out of the flock. And I went out after him and smote him and delivered it out of his mouth. And when he arose against me, I caught him by his beard and smote him and slew him. All right. It says, the servant slew both the lion and the bear, and this uncircumcised Philistine shall be as one of them, seeing he have defiled the armies of the living power, Yahweh Shem Yahushai, man. And that's that spirit. That's that spirit that we got to be in, because we don't fear anything, but we use wisdom to fight our battles in this time. All right? We use wisdom to fight our battles. All right, let me get 2 Corinthians 10. It says, for though we, 2 Corinthians 10 and 3, it says, for though we walk in the flesh, we do not war after the flesh. For the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty through Yahweh to the pulling down of strongholds. All right, casting down imaginations and every high thing that exalted itself against the knowledge of Yahweh by Shem Yahushai, and bringing into captivity every thought to the obedience of Yahweh Shai. All right. So, and that's how we fight our warfare, through wisdom. All right. The scriptures say the word of Yahweh by Shem Yahushai is sharper than any two-edged sword, cutting to the souls of men. All right. And what does the scripture say? And we use, all right, let me get this real quick. This is Luke 21 and 15. All right. It says, for I will give you a mouth and wisdom, which all your adversaries shall not be able to gainsay nor resist. All right. So that's what we cutting them. We cutting them to the bone, to the, you know what I'm saying, to the gristle with the word, man. All the way to the spirit, man, to the soul of man. That's how that's how far this puncture of the sword, the scriptures go. And that and our faith is ultimately what, you know, our faith is ultimately is what gives us this power and gives us this wisdom. This is 2 Timothy 1 and 7. So it says, for Yahweh hath not given us the spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of sound mind. All right, we have a sound mind. That's why we're able to use wisdom, man. Faith and having a sound mind is what establishes as the elect. All right, this is it's like John chapter 1 verse 11. It says, he came unto his own, and his own received him not. But many as received him, to them gave he power to become the sons of Yahweh, even to them that believe on his name. All right, that's where it ultimately established. Like, you can tell the faith of King David just by reading about him in the scriptures. You know, and that's just one of many examples who we are to follow behind. Ultimately, the prime example is Yahweh Shai. All right. So the Most High did not give us the spirit of fear, because you can't have the spirit of fear when you have faith. And King David had abundance of faith being shown, going back to 1 Samuel 17 and 32. It says, let me start at 32. It says, and David said unto Saul, let no man's heart fail because of him. Thy servant will go and fight with this Philistine. And Saul said to David, thou art not able to go against this Philistine to fight him, for thou art but a youth, and he a man of war from his youth. All right, it says, and David said unto Saul, thy servant kept the father's sheep, and there came a lion and a bear, and took a lamb out of the flock. That's deep, man. That's real deep. It says, and when I went out after him and smote him and delivered it out of his mouth, And when he arose against me, I caught him by his beard and smote and slew him. Thy servant slew both the lion and the bear, and this uncircumcised Philistine shall be as one of them, seeing that he hath defiled the armies of Yahweh by Shem Yahushai. All right, defiling them by having them being subject unto fear, because we had no reason to fear this Philistine, man, because we have the power of Yahweh by Shem Yahushai through faith and being chosen, and us, and Lord willing, I'm part of that number, being set up as the elect to have the faith to receive those spiritual powers. The spiritual power, like it starts off with faith, man, and you having the spiritual ability to persuade the righteous into righteousness. All right, that's power of the Spirit, saving souls. All right, healing the sick, raising the dead. All right, it says, David said, moreover, the Lord that delivered me out of the paw of the lion and out of the paw of the bear, he will deliver me out of the hand of this Philistine. And Saul said unto David, go, and the Lord shall be with thee. All right, and that's just it. You know, King David beat Goliath, A, because it was the Most High's will, and B, because he had Yahweh Shem Yahushai with him, and he had the faith. If he didn't have the faith, somebody else would have been chosen that had faith. You know? It says, and Saul armed David with his armor and he put in helmet. All right, it said he put in helmet of brass upon his head, and he armed him with a coat of mail. And David girded his sword upon his armor, and he essayed to go, for he had not proved it. And David said unto Saul, I cannot take these, for I have not proved them. All right, so he cannot take this. He hasn't, you know what I'm saying, proved the sword is worthy in battle. He has to take what he knows, what sword he knows how to use. He doesn't practice with these things, you know. That's why we have to prove the sword of Yahweh Shem Yahushai. How do we do that? We test it out by studying and equipping ourselves with it. As a matter of fact, hold on 1 second. All right, no, this is that word prove. It's nakah. Nakah. All right, it says, oh, all right, Shlake, that's nasa. It's nasa, it means to test, to prove, try. All right. So you're testing once you get a weapon, you gotta test it out to see you can use it. You gotta study that weapon, you know. And when a blacksmith makes a weapon, he makes a weapon designed towards that soldier. All right. And and that's just how these scriptures are. It's designed like Yahweh Shai said, I'm written in the volume of the book. Basically plain and simple. So that's the weapon that you know what I'm saying, that Yahweh Shem Yahushai knows, and we by us having the like minds of Yahweh Shem Yahushai, according to what 1 Corinthians 2:16, I think. We try this weapon to see if we are able to use it. Actually, the weapon tries us. To be honest with you, because wisdom deals with you cunningly at first, deals with you quickly at first to make sure you're worthy, and then you know it's just like pulling the sword out of the stone. You have to be worthy to pull the full sword out. All right, all right. This is 2 Samuel 17-40. It says, and he took his staff. All right, started 39 again. It says, and David girded his sword upon his armor. He's talking about Saul's armor and sword. And he essayed to go, for he had not proved it yet. And David said to Saul, I cannot go with these, for I have not proved them. And David put them off of him. All right. And he took his staff in his hand and chose him 5 smooth stones of the brook and put them in the shepherd's bag, which he made, even in a script, and his sling was in his hand, and he drew near the Philistine. All right. So that's him preparing himself with the weapon that he knows how to use. Right. And that's what we do when we go out there on the highways and byways and teach this word. We use the weapon that we know how to use, which is these scriptures. But you have to study them for you to be able to understand them. So that, in a sense, we have the heart of a lion, mind of a lion. That lion, that conquering lion, being Yahweh Shai. All right. So we don't have the spirit of fear, but we have to try our sword. I mean study our sword, so we can get familiar with it and know how to use it. Like parting asunder, meaning rightfully dividing the word of truth. This is 2 Timothy 2:15. It says, study to show thyself approved unto Yahweh, a workman that needeth not to be ashamed, rightfully dividing the word of truth. All right, so we have to study our our weapon of warfare to understand how to use it, because you can either cut yourself or cut somebody else, or if you're using it improperly. All right, this is 1 Samuel 17:40. It says, and he took his staff in his hand and chose him 5 smooth stones out of the brook and put them in a shepherd's bag, when he had even a scrip, and his sling was in his hand, and he drew near the Philistine. And the Philistine came on and drew near unto David, and the man that bare the shield went before him. And when the Philistine looked about and saw David, he disdained him, for he was but a youth, and ruddy, and a fair countenance. So basically saying he was a young, pretty boy. All right. And it says, and the Philistine said unto David, am I a dog that thou comest to me with staves? And the Philistine cursed by the dog. The Philistine cursed David by his gods. All right, so he used his gods to put a curse on David, but David's going to show who the true God is. It says, and the Philistine said unto David, come to me, and I will give thy flesh unto the fowls of the air, and to the beasts of the field. All right, so basically he's talking about he was going to kill David, but David had something else in mind. Then David said to the Philistine, thou comest to me with a sword and with a spear and with a shield, but I come in the name of Yahweh Shem Yahushai, Lord of hosts, the name of the armies of Israel, whom thou hast defiled. So that's what he came into power. It didn't have nothing to do with the rocks or the sling, but it just had to do with the spirit and the faith and the mindset of King David going into battle. He didn't waver or nothing at all. All right. And you should be able to occupy your mind on that at all times when you're at battle. You shouldn't have to worry about, because what I'm going to get into after this is how Saul turned on King David. Can you imagine being in the trenches, a heat at war, you know what I'm saying? In the trenches, firing off at the enemy, and then you look to your right, and one of your fellow comrades has a gun pointed at you. You know, sometimes you have situations that are like that in this truth, and it shouldn't be that way. All right. It says 1 Samuel 17:45 again. It says, then said David to the Philistine, thou comest to me with a sword and with a spear and with a shield, but I come to thee in the name of Yahweh Shem Yahushai, the power and the power of the armies of Israel, Yasharallah, whom thou hast defiled. This day will Yahweh deliver thee into mine hands, and I will smite thee and take thine head from thee, and I will give thy carcasses to the host of the Philistines this day unto the fowl of the air and to the wild beasts of the field, that all the earth may know that there is one power in Israel and one power in the whole world, and only the power of Israel, Yahweh by Shem Yahushai. All right. It says, and all this assembly shall know that the Lord Yahweh by Shem Yahushai saveth not with the sword and spear, for the battle is the Lord's, and he will give it into our hands. And it came to pass, and that's the point. You know, this is Psalms 20:7. It says, some trust in chariots and some in horses, but we will remember the name of Yahweh by Shem Yahushai. And that's what we trust in, man. The name of Yahweh by Shem Yahushai. That's what gives us our strength. Esau trusts in his army and his might with his money. Esau has carnal trust, not spiritual trust. 2/3 of our people are just like that also. All right. This is First Samuel chapter 17. All right, it says verse 47, 1 Samuel 17 and 47, it says, and all this assembly shall know that the Lord saveth not with sword and spear, for the battle is the Lord's, and he will give you unto our hands. And it came to pass, and that's the point. And that's what's going to happen with Esau too, ultimately. All right, it says, and it came to pass when the Philistine arose and came and drew near to meet David, that David hasted and ran towards the army to meet the Philistine. And David put his hand in his bag and took thence a stone and sling it, and smote the Philistine in the forehead, that the stone sunk into his forehead, and he fell upon his face to the earth. So David prevailed over the Philistine that with a sling and with a stone, and smote the Philistine and slew him. But there was no sword in the hand of David. Therefore David ran and stood upon the Philistine and took his sword and drew it out of his sheath thereof and slew him and cut off his head therewith. And when the Philistines saw their captain was dead, they fled. So basically, when he hit him with the stone, he knocked him out. But when he took his own sword, he killed the man with his own sword. It says, therefore David ran and stood upon the Philistine and took his sword and drew it out of his sheath thereof and slew him and cut off his head. Damn. So, verse 52, and it says, and the men of Israel and of Judah arose and shouted and pursued the Philistine and that's how, and man, faith is as much as a mustard seed, man. Faith of one individual, brought faith to rest throughout the rest of Israel. Now they weren't afraid of the Philistines anymore, That's having the heart of a lion, knowing you have the faith, having faith in Yahweh Shem Yahushai to deliver whoever into your hands. All right, verse 52, it says, and the men of Israel and of Judah arose and shouted and pursued the Philistine until they come to the valley of the gates of Ekron, and the wounded of the Philistine fell down by the way of Sharaim, even unto God, even unto Ekron. And the children of Israel returned from chasing after the Philistines, and they spoiled their tent. All right. So that's the point on that one. I'm gonna close it out and go into chapter 3. Part 3 on my lesson. Basically going into from what happened on after that point. So that's going into King David. Even though he has a heart of a lion, I'm going into him being as humble as a child. All right. With that being said, I hope this lesson was edifying so far and it serves its purpose. And I'd like to say, Kal Halayim La Yahweh. by Hashem Yahushai, by Hashem Harakak Wadash Ma'amah. Double honors to the elder apostles of Great Millstone. The salutation to the occupant that are pushing the truth and sincerity and truth. And peace and blessings to the men, women, and children that believe in the name of Yahweh by Hashem Yahushai. Shalom.